How you doing, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another episode of Rollin' Over the Hill on the YouTube channel. Uh, Live to Roll. Shawn will be joining us in a few. Bobby will not be able to join us today, so in his place we have a guest, Luis, and we'll be meeting him in a little bit. My name is Robert Soto. I'm a spinal cord injury T12 from a motorcycle racing accident back in 1974. I'd like to introduce you to our guest, Luis. How you doing?
Doing great. My name's Luis. I've been injured for coming up on 43 years. I'm 62, and it was an industrial accident. I got thrown out of an oil rig working as a derrick hand, and it's been a while.
Yep. And
You guys,
also, Shawn is joining us today, as you see there.
yep.
What's up?
I'll be like kind of, I guess, a little bit of a guest host with you guys. Just we need a couple of people to fill in for Bobby. He's
Yeah, a lot of shoes to fill.
Yes.
And our topic today is long-term effects of being a walking spinal cord injury. And Luis is a lower level injury. What level are you? L2,
L3,
L3? Okay,
L3, L4, incomplete.
okay. And you want to give us a little story just about you being thrown off that rig?
Okay. I lived in Washington State, and Mount St. Helens, the volcano blew up, so I knew it was time to change jobs. And I moved to North Dakota to go work in the oil rigs out in the oil fields. And I got this job working up on the oil rig, up in the tower. And it was as a derrick hand, and we put pipe into the ground, suck the oil out, and send it off to the refinery. That day, it was 30 below, and with the wind chill factor, it was minus 70.
Wow.
So, and the cold helped save my life. It kept my injury from being as bad as it could be. There was a crash on the oil rig, and it crashed into a space on the tower of the oil rig, and it caused me to be ejected out, away from the oil rig, up and out. And when I landed on the ground, it broke my back. I had a bunch of crush injuries. My internal organs were all jumbled around, and they thought I was dead. I had blood coming from my ears and my mouth and my nose and all that, and they threw a tarp over me. About
Oh,
2 minutes later or so, I come conscious, and they're like, "Oh crap, he's alive!" So my two coworkers crawled up underneath the tarp to keep me warm from freezing to death. And eventually the
it's not.
ambulance gets there, and it took like a little over 5 hours to get to the hospital. They did surgery, put me in an induced coma. They had to thaw me out because I kind of turned into a meat popsicle.
yeah. Well, Luis,
And
didn't the cold actually be a benefit for you as an injury, spinal cord injury?
Preserving your
actually, it
spine.
was because
Yeah,
it
yeah,
a lot of times with our injuries we tend to swell,
yeah.
and
That's what happened with me.
that's what it did. It kept me from swelling up. Uh, these days, when you have a spinal cord injury, paramedics, if they're trained for this, can actually inject steroids into your spine to keep the swelling down so that you don't have as much damage as you could possibly have. Swelling is a real problem in spinal cord injuries.
Yeah, I
Um,
know for me, my swelling, they wanted to do surgery right away, but they couldn't because of my body going into shock and the swelling.
exactly. I had surgery when I reached the hospital, and they did a very simple laminectomy where they pulled bone chips
Yeah,
out of my back.
fragments. Yeah,
And some of the doctors wanted to put in rods because, like, a lot of us will have like Harrington rods in our backs. And the chief doctor there said, "Not with this guy, not with his type of injury. Rods would not be a good idea. We're not going to do it." So I never actually had rods like a lot of people do.
did you still have movement in your lower extremities at that point, or did it something that
No,
came along gradually?
the movement came a couple of weeks later. Um, I was in a induced coma for about 10 days.
Hmm.
And then at about the 2-3 week period, I started to get a little bit of movement. I could like move one of my knees,
Yeah,
you know, but I couldn't move my toes or my ankles, and I still can't.
yeah, yeah. That's interesting because we'll get into that a little bit. You have anything you want to add, Shawn?
No, I mean, I was just gonna. Yeah, I know Luis's injury story is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I know.
But
I had to hear it.
Yeah.
I had to have everybody hear it.
no, I was just gonna ask you guys both kind of. So, what's your function, or what? Because you guys both use knee below device or the KFO. I see. I don't know as much because I didn't have any lower function.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I never really got into any of the walking devices and the braces and stuff. What do you
Okay.
guys? Are you guys both about the same, or do you guys use different devices?
No, we're
Go ahead,
completely
Robert.
opposite end. I'm a lower injury. I'm a T12. I had movement in my right leg from the beginning, so they started kind of focusing on the therapy with that, strengthening that leg. My left leg, I had trace quad, but my right leg primarily was moving by my quad muscles. I don't have any ankle or anything like that, no glutes, but the quad muscle, is pretty strong muscle in your leg to help move your knee and lock your leg and all that. So that's pretty much what they did with me. But I was going to need there's two sets of braces. There's a KAFO, which is knee, ankle, foot orthosis, and then there's also the AFO, which is ankle, foot. So on my left leg, I wear a KFO, and on my right, I wear an AFO. So it's a short leg and long leg brace, and I could stand without it at the time when I was younger. Was able to stand. I really couldn't walk too much without having the braces on. But I mean, I could take a few steps here and there. But I had to have crutches because my injury. I would jackknife and couldn't really hold myself straight up. So I used braces and crutches and a lot of my arms to, especially to get up from a seating position. It was all shoulder to actually get up, with my leg helping a little bit. So and that's something we'll continue to talk about in terms of what it does to your body and shoulder. Where I know Luis has primarily a lot of movement in his legs, and I think you were using two AFOs.
Yes.
Yep.
Identical bilateral AFOs.
Yeah. And did they
Yeah.
put you on a walker, crutches, or did you need them? Or
Actually, for the first year, they didn't let me walk at all. And that
wow,
was because I had so many crush injuries. I broke both my feet, left heel, right ankle, and it took a lot of surgeries to reconstruct, my crush injuries. So first year, no walking. And then they put me on AFOs, but I still had casts on my arms.
it's,
So I was on the AFOs for maybe about a month or two,
mhm,
something like that, and then I progressed pretty quickly to AFOs. Um, and I did the usual with the parallel bars, things
yeah,
like that. I never used a walker, but I went from parallel bars to forearm crutches that instead of a forearm crutch being this way down, it was a forearm crutch where your arm is parallel to the
yeah,
ground
yeah.
so that I could put the cast on top of the crutch
Huh.
because I was still wearing casts.
Crazy.
The I'm trying to think here. The
Well, yeah, well, for
Go ahead.
me, I had they wanted and the parallel bars, the standing frame, and all that. And again, this was when I was younger, so I mean, I was just all gung ho on it, and the strength was there, and the resiliency was there. But so they tried to put me on a walker, but I could not do the walker. For some reason, I had a mental block on standing there, lifting the walker to take a step. I mean, I couldn't do it. So we
Hmm.
kept trying and trying, and then finally they just put me on forearm crutches, the ones that actually have the cuff, where you use them like, the actual forearm piece. And I was able to do that. So it was baby steps and all that. And it was a lot of work. I mean, even being 19, 20 years old, there's a lot of effort that needs to be, you know, you have to take a lot of effort to get up on your feet and move.
Robert, with your walker, were you hanging onto the walker and taking steps, or were
I
you
just
doing a hike and swing?
I was just trying to move forward with it. Just I could not
Hmm.
move it while I was standing there. I had a
Hmm.
block. I couldn't do it. So they finally just said, well, let's see what you do on crutches. And it was easier for me to do it on the crutches. I do the reciprocal where you put your right forearm, the crutch forward, and then the left leg comes through, and and that's really kind of what they wanted me to do because a lot of times at that time in the '70s, early '70s, people were using the gait where they'd have the forearm crutches and they would just swing both their legs through, and that's how one of the patients there was on 2 KFOs, and that's how he moved around and did
Yeah,
greatly. I mean, he had, you have your stamina because that's a lot of it is how much you're going to use the ambulatory part of your life is having that strength.
It
you,
sounds
you said you
exhausting.
were
It's like
19 or 20.
Yeah, yeah, 19.
Yeah, see, I was 20 years old when I was injured.
Yeah, see, I was 2 weeks, 3 weeks before my birthday, my 20th birthday. So, it was just one of those things. I spent my 20th birthday in the hospital, for 6 months, whatever. But it was a lot of work at the time, and it kind of helped though because it gave me something to really focus. I mean, it really, other
Yeah,
than, I mean, I had to deal with that, but you also had to deal with the bowel and bladder and learning all that stuff, and
exactly.
so there was a lot going on. But it was, I think, beneficial for me just because the walking was a focus. Not that I was going to fool anybody about walking. I mean, when I walked, I mean, I was disabled. I mean, it's not, but it helped a lot in my early years as far as mobility, going up and down stairs, and not really having barriers. You know,
yeah.
I went. I probably went. I've been injured 49 years, so probably the last 10 years is when I've really been diminished on my ambulatory piece. So my shoulders are shot, and just I'm just getting older. I'm going to be 70 next year, and it's just kind of taking its toll. And me not taking care of myself, like what I did was I used the crutches and braces because I worked a lot and went to school, and I used them all the time. And
Yep.
the wheelchair, I mean, I used the wheelchair. The minute I took the braces off, I had to use the chair, which it was no big deal. But um, I never found that proper balance of using the chair and the crutches. I mean, I used them 95% of the time. I never even carried a wheelchair in my truck or my
So
car. So I didn't have the balance.
Mhm.
I mean, in terms of the wheelchair and crutches.
that was what I was gonna. One of the questions I had for you guys was, what is your like time ratio balance between the two, and now versus your first 10 years of injury, or like how that's progressed.
Well, well, I know. Luis and I have been talking before, and how he has a pretty good balance of what he does. That's why
Mhm.
his body's holding up pretty well with walking and using the chair. For me, I was just
Yeah,
kind of stubborn and kind of focused on the crutches and braces, but in the long run, it kind of did me in.
yeah. I was told pretty, and it's funny because um, both Robert and I went to the same exact rehab center.
Yeah,
We had
Rancho
both the
Oswego.
same exact doctors.
Yeah,
Dr.
Crazy.
Waters, Dr. Perry. If you guys want to look up a doctor, look up Dr. Jacqueline Perry. She is the rehab doctor of all rehab doctors. And of course,
yep,
Dr. Tomar, the
yeah,
urologist.
more, yeah, 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 and
And
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay, because I know there was the physical therapy, the recreational therapists over there. They were on brace. They had braces and things like that. So they kind of influenced. If you had an opportunity to be ambulatory, you kind of took the lead. I mean, but see, they didn't use them all the time. Like one of the main rec therapists there was in his chair, and he's the one that created the quadra chair and all that. But he wore braces, and it's like me when I still wear my braces. I'm not walking a lot, but I still stand a lot to get in on my truck. So I still wear braces, but I don't see many people wearing the braces underneath their pants now because a lot of times
Yeah.
people are just putting them on the outside. And I still wear mine every day. I put them on. The jeans go over the braces, and I mean, and that's wearing over a long leg brace because
It's,
when I first got hurt, there were all the metal brace. It was the ankle that connected to the shoe, and it had the
oh,
ankle joint that was
yeah.
adjusted with all these screws that were heavy, and but you had to have the same shoe all the time, no matter what you wore. So
Stainless steel stirrups
yeah, that's it.
being made right
Yeah,
into the sole of the shoe and
yeah.
orthopedic shoes.
Yeah, I had some Red Wings, I guess they attached, but you know, uh, if you wore jeans, you had those shoes. If you wore a suit, you had those shoes. So he was like, you kind of had to
Yeah.
get something that was like, in
Pick a
between there.
good shoe.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
recreational therapist that you mentioned,
Yes,
that was Jeff Minnebraker,
yes, sir.
and
And also,
he was low level like you and I were,
yeah, he was a
and
T12.
he was a walking SCI as well. He
Yeah,
was like a L3, L4, and 5, I believe.
yeah. Because Ed
And
Owens was also one of the rec therapists there, and he was a
yeah,
polio though, but he wore AFOs.
yes. So you remember Dr. Perry, of course.
Yes.
Most people don't know this about Dr. Perry. She had polio as a child.
Wow.
So back in the 1940s, after she came out of World War II as a nurse and then eventually became a doctor, she was having PPS, post polio syndrome, come back and affect her ability to walk again.
Wow.
And she AFOs, KFOs back then were way worse than when we got them.
Yeah.
And so instead of getting braces, she had her ankles fused. So she had
Wow.
90. She used to, people would
Wow.
tease her about her stomping around
Yeah. Because you
on her
didn't have the
feet.
foot movement, right?
She had her feet fused in the same position as wearing an AFO.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That's pretty
That's
crazy.
pretty crazy. There's some crazy stuff. There's crazy stories that you hear. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, the
especially from
the metal braces were something. And like I say, they're so heavy. Then they came out with the aluminum. Then they
Yep.
transitioned into the plastics and the urethanes and all that. I mean, that made a world of difference because you can have the same brace. Like my brace, the long leg brace, the KFO, is the upper part is still the metal with the cuffs around the thigh, but then all the
Yeah.
bottom part is the plastic where you could insert into a shoe, tennis shoe, and all that. So that
so
made a
now
world of
you don't
difference.
have to have the one shoe anymore. They've
Well,
updated that.
yeah, exactly. You just got to get the right shoe because you don't want something that flexes too much because you're relying on the plastic part of the brace too. You don't want that to flex or get too weak and everything.
Most
What do you?
AFOs now, so long as you go with a standard like a polypropylene
Yeah,
or a carbon fiber AFO or any lower shell, you can wear just about any shoe you want. It's going to add about a half to one size difference in your shoe.
yeah, yeah,
So you just get a little bit bigger shoe,
Buy a
fit
size,
it
yeah.
in. Depending
yep,
on the cut of the shoe, yeah, how all shoes fit a little bit different. Some shoes, if it fits a little loose, throw a sock on that AFO. You know,
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. And that's because I kind of what I do. I just it kind of hides the brace. I do it mostly for just to hide the brace. But
exact. I do that with my suits. So when
yeah,
I'm wearing a suit, I don't want someone to see my AFOs.
yeah.
So
That's
I'll
why I
put a
just wear
nice
socks.
dress sock over the top of the AFO.
So over your many years, once you got it back on your feet and everything kind of headed in the right direction of your life, have you had any problems because of the walking? Have you had something where you had to adjust or you were laid up for a little bit to make a correction or anything?
As far as my spinal cord injury, no. There was one time when I had to take a break from walking
Hmm.
because I had a MRSA infection in the back of my leg. And I almost lost my leg over the MRSA infection.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I had to stay off my feet for about 3 months. And you know how it is when, as SCIs, if we're not doing something for a couple of months, we get some atrophy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
after that 3 month layup, I had to go to therapy and you know work on my leg strength all over again. I wasn't
That's
starting from scratch like when I was first injured, but I
Yeah.
did have to do some building the muscles back up because
Yes.
you guys know because you know me, you see me, but for like a spinal cord injury, I've got the biggest quads known to man.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone comes for you that are watching the stream. People in chairs come up to me all the time and they go, "Why are your legs so big?" It's like it's because I have quadriceps and I
Yeah.
have massive quads, but I don't have any butt muscles. So like the rest of the SCIs,
I know.
I've got no butt back there.
Yeah, I've got a flat butt, but also I atrophy. My legs atrophy pretty quick because I don't have spasms. But in a sense, that was a benefit because it allowed me to be up on the crutches and braces. Because I know a lot of guys that were able to do the same, but they couldn't because their spasms would overtake their it would be involuntary rather than their voluntary movements, and so it created a
Yeah.
big problem. So I was kind of lucky in that point, but like I said, my legs got skinny and my butt lost my butt real quick.
Have you ever noticed that sometimes quads and upper level paras who have spasms, they have better muscle tone
Yeah, oh yeah,
and less
Oh,
atrophy than us
yeah,
lower level paras.
so I have pretty good for how like I'm a skinny person in general. I'm very thin built, but
yeah,
my legs, I'm pretty sure like if I didn't have the spasticity I did, would look like little sticks. But I actually do have like some like little calf muscles and like I actually
yeah,
kind of even have like thighs that are under my butt that like I think help with some cushion, but also throw
Mhm.
me around like sometimes.
yeah.
But yeah, no,
Yeah,
that keeps the atrophy from going for sure. It helps a lot. I don't know.
that's us low levels. That's one of our things is that we have
It
to
is.
really watch because we atrophy so much that
Yeah,
it's just skin and bone, and you go hopping out of your car or your truck and you miss the wheelchair and you
yeah,
land on the ground and you break a hip or something because you've
yeah.
got nothing.
Well, for me, when I was like 3 years into my injury, I was just kind of getting some momentum doing the ambulatory thing and all that. So I was in this
Mhm.
chair, and so we put a ramp up these over these stairs that didn't have anything to do with having it long. It's just to clear those stairs. So I went up to do a wheelie down the ramp and hit the ledge of it, and it forced me down, and I flew out of the chair like Superman and broke my hip. So I had to go through the surgery. This was 3 years into it. So I had to go through the surgery, and they didn't want me even up walking for 6 months. Couldn't be in the car. The doctor didn't want to take a chance of getting in an accident, re-injuring it because they put the rod and everything in my hip, and that was
Yeah.
when they were doing it. It was stainless steel. It wasn't even titanium or anything. It was a stainless steel rod, and so I had to be off for it for a while. And then kind of after that 6 months, it took a little while to get my strength back and get back
Well,
to
3 years
walking.
post for you. This is still in the 70s, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It was like 77,
Yeah.
76, somewhere around
Wow.
there. 3 years into it, but yeah, but it was because spinal cord injury. You didn't. I mean, I had some friends that I was in Rancho with, living in the area, and but there wasn't that many spinal cord injuries that were out and about. A lot. There were a lot of veterans, but I mean, in terms of our injury, somebody doing it, because in the
Yeah.
hospital, there's a lot of guys. These people with 6 years in a room, but out of all of the six, there's probably two or three that had a chance to be ambulatory in my ward. But it was a
Yeah.
lot of work, and like I said, for me, the difference between you and I, Luis, is because I used the crutches a lot and I would hyperextend my shoulders. So
Yeah.
I didn't have the leg. The leg would help me get up, but you're pushing your shoulder to this point, and then just muscling up to get out of that position there. So that over the years, the 30 some years that I was doing it, was just constantly damaging the shoulders. And with me
Yeah.
working, I didn't stop. I should have probably I didn't do it. I should have just stopped and took a week off or a few days off just to let it, feel a little bit better. But I kept, if it was sore and tore or whatever, I would still just get up and keep doing it. And, it
Yeah.
eventually healed itself or, just not stop hurting me. And it was okay. But over the years, now that's like I have, the torn rotators and ruptured biceps and things like that. Like right now, the other day, a couple of days ago, I got out of my truck and just kind of pulled my shoulder and,
Mhm.
just holding myself up. So, I'm just nursing it right now, and it already feels better just in a day or two. Where before, I would have just kept powering through it. And that's the
Yeah.
difference because I didn't listen to my body, didn't know what to do, and I probably just overused. I didn't need to be on the crutches 95% of the time. I could have been 50 and 50.
Yeah.
I don't know, just young and just was the way it was for me. I still had the resilience, and in terms of even sore wing or whatever, you just kept pushing.
Yeah. Now, for some transparency here, we're talking a lot about AFOs, and I
Yeah.
know a lot about orthotics and prosthetics. I actually went to school for it. And Shawn, you and I have known each other now for what, 10, 10 years,
Probably about
12
that,
years,
close to
something
that,
like that.
maybe.
And I
As
got to
long
be
as Triumph
totally
has
honest
been.
with your audience. In the 10, 12 years that Shawn and I have known each other, and I think it's 6 or 7 with Robert, you guys have never once seen me wearing a pair of AFOs because I am the laziest bum procrastinator known to man, and I don't have any working braces right now.
Well, you're
Huh.
lucky you
So,
can do it.
yeah, you
You
don't
know?
even
Yeah,
wear the braces? Even when you are walking around, like when you're up out of the. You don't have
yeah.
to.
See, that's
Nice.
great. That's
When
pretty.
I have braces, I can walk so well I can hide my disability.
Yeah,
The uninitiated have no idea that I have a disability
yeah. And that could be a
without
whole
the
nother set of
brace.
problems too. Not looking disabled and taking handicap parking, you can probably
So,
get a lot of
I
people
have gotten
issues.
so much grief. I
Yeah,
have, and I'll sit there and I'll be like, "Call the cop. Go right ahead. I'll wait. Call the cop. I'm cool."
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
uh,
like without the braces, I walk like a drunken duck. So,
I'll
so
take it. I'll take
let me
it.
ask you this: Does with you walking without the braces more, do you think that's causing any more damage to your body? Like how Robert was like, over stressing shoulders, doing stuff. Do you think that not using braces is potentially, you know,
yes, I don't have the endurance that I used to have. Um, I can feel it in my hips because that drunken duck walking thing, my hips are moving all over the place, and I do feel it in because I all I function with is my quadriceps and my hip
Yeah,
flexors,
yeah.
and I
Same
can
here.
feel my hip flexors taking a toll because of that. So you're
yeah,
absolutely right, Shawn. And I do
I,
need to change that. I need to get AFOs. However, I'll cheat. So like
Yeah,
I have boots and shoes that like when I go snow skiing, the snow
yeah,
boots work like AFOs.
because they're
yeah.
so
I have
stiff.
I have
Yeah,
motorcycle boots. They're motocross O'Neills. I got a pair of O'Neills, and they come all the way up and they latch all the way up, and they work just like a pair of AFOs. So
nice.
when I went to the Triumph Casino night this last year, I wore my motorcycle boots, and I walked in and nobody recognized me
Yeah, well, I didn't read you sat. You
because
sat next to me, and
I
I didn't
was
even know.
walking, not rolling. Nobody knew who I was, and it's like, hey, it's me, it's Luis, but you're walking.
Yeah. So Luis, what percentage on a daily basis? What percentage are you walking, and what percentage do you use your wheelchair, or does it depend on the situation or where you're going and what you're doing?
It's totally situational. I'm glad you asked it that way because it's not really like a 50-50, 70-30.
Yeah,
It's totally situational. So I never roll at home
yeah,
ever. And I have a upstairs room, so I have to do the stairs all day long. And then when I go out to the store, like Shawn and I recently, we went to the movie theater and saw Avatar 2, and I rolled because
yeah,
I'd never been to that theater. I had no idea how far it was.
Yeah, going
But
through a mall and stuff. Yeah,
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 you go to a mall or Costco or
yeah. Oh yeah,
Walmart
yeah,
or God knows where. I roll because I don't care if people see me in a wheelchair.
yeah. Well, you know,
You know,
it doesn't matter to me either. But the thing is when I was using my crutches, I mean, I'd go into the store and I'd be able to handle holding onto the crutch grips and still carry things in my hands, bags and stuff like that. And I look
yeah,
back now in hindsight, I go, I should just bought the chair with me or something. But I'd come from work and I wouldn't have the chair with me, so it'd just be easier to go in the store and I'd get a few things. And I tell you, I became master of all this stuff in my hands and the crutch
yeah.
grips. So
Well, like we always talk about. It's important to have advanced wheelchair skills
yeah,
for us SCI walkers, especially if we're using crutches. It's important to have advanced crutch skills.
you got to
yeah,
have
and yeah,
both. I feel like you guys got to practice. That's why it's probably good to do keep using both. Make sure you don't slack on the chair because you got to keep
yeah,
those skills up for the days
Exactly.
you need them. You need.
Like sometimes, um, I'll show up when the guys like Shawn and the other guys in the Northridge Knights, they're having rugby practice, or we'll be at a sports festival doing a demonstration of rugby. And fortunately, even though I use crutches and I walk a lot, I still have my wheelchair skills. I can play all day long.
Yeah,
Put in
yeah,
6 games of rugby, and then by the end of the day, okay, I'm tired. Time to whip out the crutch and walk into the restaurant or the bar.
yeah. I know for me, it helped a lot. Like I traveled a lot when I was working and all that, and being on the crutches and stuff like that made it real easy to get on planes and things like
Yeah,
that.
that stuff I
I
would
mean,
see being a lot
it
easier.
was not relying on somebody pushing me in that the chair aisle chair and all that stuff.
See, but if
So
you
that was one
guys
of the good things about the benefits of that for sure.
see, I feel like if I was one of you guys, I would roll with my chair for the airport because you could roll
Yep,
in, you'll get
yep,
priority
yep.
Yeah,
getting in. But then if you have the function to just bring your crutch with you or bring like your like something with you so that you can just get up and walk onto the plane, make that a little bit
What-
easier. Then you're winning, man. You got best of both
Yeah,
worlds right there.
yeah,
that's
yeah. Really, really.
exactly what I do. So you both have seen my wheelchair. I For those that don't know, I have uh, a type of wheelchair that's called a Z folder. So the back folds down like most chairs, and the front end folds up underneath the seat. This is specifically a travel chair so that I can put it in the overhead or the fore and aft closet of an airplane. And all I do is I get right into the front of the airplane there, and they say, "Do you need any help?" And I say, "No, hang on, I got this for you." I jump out of the chair, pop off the wheels, give them the wheels, hand the frame to the steward, and say, "Put it wherever it fits, wherever is comfortable for you guys."
Yeah,
And I pull my collapsible crutch or cane or whatever I've got out of my bag and use that and go sit down.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
I usually use. I was like what Sean said. I use the wheelchair all around the airport. I get in early to check in, and I leave my crutches over by the gate. And then when it was time, I took the crutches onto the jet ramp with me at the top. I got out of the chair, walked onto the plane, and put the crutches up above. And
Yeah,
the chair still went on the cargo, but it was not. I wasn't relying on them to seat me and all that. So that was kind of cool. But
Yeah, that makes
uh,
it a lot easier.
yeah, yeah. But long story short, now I'm minimal crutches, and I mean I still stand and a few steps here and there, but nothing like what I used to. So
So you
I'm in
probably
the point of
switched, huh? Because you used to be like, what, 95%
like I said,
walk
95%.
crutch. Now
Yeah,
you're like 95%
yeah,
yes, yeah.
chair.
It flipped around. But
Yeah.
again, my life, it was working a lot, and it was just I was going up and down stairs all the time, and I kind of established that when I was younger, when I got the job. So then towards the when I was getting older, there was a couple facility managers that asked me if I ever needed anything else, because I'd be going up these flights of stairs, these metal stairs in a warehouse, and they're open stairs, and so I'd get to the top, and when the railing ran out, and I'd have to kind of make sure I leaned forward when I put the crutches up on the platform there, because if I did fall, I'm falling forward, not backwards. So I mean, just stuff like
Jesus.
that, and I was going for it, but they would end up putting an extension of a railing up above, so I could never have to let go of the railing to get up. And but
yeah.
it was a lot of things like that, and it was just this was like also pre ADA days when I first got hurt. There were no, I think they were just getting starting. They weren't even thinking doing curb cuts yet, and so it was actually beneficial. There was no, it was easier to use the crutches, even though it was a lot of hard work to get to that point. But
Hmm.
to go up a curb, to go up a couple stairs, I mean, because the wheelchair half the time, okay, they actually showed you how to go up a curb in a wheelie, because
Hmm.
so you're not in the street looking for a driveway and things like that. And with the crutches, it actually allowed me to not have to take that risk and all that. But
I think that's
now,
cool that they used to teach those chair skills back in
yeah,
like the
yeah,
earlier
it was
days.
important to learn a wheelie to go down a curb, and important to pop a wheelie and go up a curb. I mean
Yeah,
that was part of
a
your
lot
rehab.
of rehabs nowadays, they don't want to take that liability on teaching
Right.
advanced
Yeah,
skills.
I could
yeah,
see that. Yeah.
You know,
That's
because
crazy.
all the things that
Um,
Rob's talking about, Those are things that I learned in rehab. They took
Yeah.
us to the mall and they put us on the escalator at the Cerritos Mall.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
Yeah,
know,
It's like,
there's no
it's,
way they're doing that nowadays.
yeah,
yeah, there's a
Uh,
lot of sure has changed, that's for sure. But and the materials now with the braces are a lot better. They have a lot of other uh, benefits in terms of the with when you are learning to walk, if you have that ability and unfortunate to try that, because right now, if I look back, walking was very important to me back then. But I think
yeah,
now what was important to me was bowel and bladder. Walking, I could deal with the
yeah.
wheelchair.
so
It's the bowel and bladder. And
that was
so,
actually going to be
so
my
that's kind
final.
of flipped as well. Yeah, yeah,
So that was going to be kind of one of my final questions for you guys, since we are getting towards the end of
yeah, yeah.
the time here. It's just like, what advice would you tell your younger self then to like preserve some of that longevity, just to like, and like the other things that are important, like tell yourself, yeah, bowel and bladder is more important than this walking
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, well,
Walking's
for me,
highly overrated.
yeah. Well, the advice I'd give somebody that's getting back up and trying to get on crutches or braces or whatever, that have the ability to walk, is first off, take care of your diet. Have a good diet, weight management, keep yourself fit, and learn that balance for wheelchair and crutch. I mean, there are people that never need the wheelchair after again, but there are a lot of us that still really need to use that chair in our life. It's involved in our life, but you keep your muscle strength and just kind of to take care of yourself. Listen to your body, like yeah, which I didn't, but you just got to listen to your shoulders, because I know the shoulder studies they've done. I read some of them and stuff like that, and there's a lot of things that I had that I just overlooked and just kept moving forward with it, and here I am now, not when my shoulders are shot in it, and my shoulders not just affect my walking, but affects my transfers and all kinds of stuff, lifting and things like that. So I didn't want to get the surgeries because I'm getting too old and it's too debilitating for me. So I kind of passed on the surgeries, but sometimes I second guess myself thinking about if I would have done it, but I got to keep moving forward, and I'm getting by. I'm doing, I'm happy in terms of moving
Hmm.
forward and hitting some milestones that at least I make my milestones, because I'm not a person of celebrating birthdays and things like that, but I am next
Yeah,
year looking to be 70 years old and 50 years in a wheelchair. So that'll be
That's
my
a pretty big
milestone.
milestone, man. That's a
Yeah.
big.
that's huge. Yeah.
No, that's big time. So
So
In
Luis,
fact, I think
what do
we
you
need
got?
to celebrate that with you,
Yeah.
Robert.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. So what do you got to advice for potential walkers out there?
For SCI walkers, my big thing is learn to walk and roll.
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Definitely.
Do both. And I see a lot of SCI walkers who want to leave the wheelchair behind, and then 6 months later they're like, "Oh my god, I can't go anywhere or do anything because by the time I walk from the parking lot to wherever I'm
yeah.
going,
Yeah.
I'm worn out." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, did you take the wheelchair with you?" "Oh no, I sold it on Craigslist." And it's like,
Yeah.
well, then you're
Yeah.
stupid too. You know, don't
Yeah.
sell
Yeah.
your wheelchair on Craigslist. They gave you that for a reason.
Yeah.
The whole point of walk and roll is so that you have the endurance to do what you need to do today, and then you still have the endurance to do it again tomorrow.
There you go.
Because if you expend all your energy and you fatigue yourself so badly that you have to recover for a few days, you're doing
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah. You're not doing yourself justice. You're not helping yourself.
Walk every day, roll every day.
Yep. Good advice.
Yeah, that seems to be like from everybody that I know that is a walking SCI. I think that's like the general consensus, especially after years of doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here, let's real quick go ahead and thank our sponsors, Mobility Professionals, with this quick little video clip here that I made. If it just takes a second to load. But yeah, Mobility Professionals is our sponsor, and Urology Professionals. We thank them and couldn't do what we're doing with.
You can grab the door. Hello.
Mobility Professionals is a medical supply company that services the Southern California area. They can help you out with custom wheelchairs, scooters, durable medical equipment, standers, any kind of commode or bathroom equipment, and they also do a lot of technical repair. They have an amazing staff that provides incredible customer service. They will take care of everything for you, for the insurance, doctors, therapists, and all that stuff that just makes your life so much more complicated. They're here to simplify and make things easy. Not only that, but they're also highly active in the local community. They're at a lot of disability events, volunteering, and servicing the community that we all love.
Yeah, Mobility Professionals are a great group of people, and they also have their sister company, Urology Professionals. Now, they're a national company, so they'll be able to help you with all your urological needs. Their Mobility Professionals is a great company also, as well as basically local for your durable medical goods and things like that. What's good about the company is that they're involved in our community, and they're like was said in the commercial there, they show up at all our events and stuff like that. So coming up, there's going to be the Ability Expo, then they'll have a booth there. So make sure you stop by and say hello and tell them that, you heard about them on our programs on Live to Roll.
And check out their links and stuff are down below in the description.
Yep.
If you want to check them out, give them a call. They can help you out with all kinds of urological or wheelchair supplies, anything you need.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, thank you guys. Thanks to sponsors. Anything else you guys want to wrap up with?
Have Bobby will be.
I wanted to mention the
Yeah.
Triumph Foundation.
Yes.
Just recently, we had Triumph went to Big Bear Lake up in the mountains, and we had a skiing session with USARC, United States Adaptive Recreation Center. And aside from that date, we've got 2 more dates, one coming up in February, one in March. So if any
totally
of you
free.
are near or local or can get to Southern California reasonably easy, check out Triumph Foundation and look forward to going to do some snow skiing. It's a great program.
Yeah,
Great
it is
organization.
awesome. I'm actually going to go, I think, sometime soon, but I'm not going to go with Triumph because I want to use the Tetra ski, and I want it all day. With Triumph, you have to share it.
I don't want to.
But anyways, I want to also thank you guys in the chat. Roy, thanks, dude. Ben, fist bump, man. Thanks for always supporting. Chicken Boy, thank you guys. We appreciate you. Everybody else in the chat, we appreciate you guys sticking around, watching, giving us the thumbs up. And we'll be back this Tuesday with another Live to Roll Live. 3:30 p.m. like normal. And then next week, we will have Brianna doing the women's show, first and third Thursdays of the month. And then hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll have Bobby back for another Rolling Over the Hill show. We're all hoping and praying for Bobby. And we also now on Wednesdays have Tom doing gaming. So if anybody's into gaming, check that out. He games for a few hours. It's really just a casual hangout and pretty fun little thing to do. So you guys check all that stuff out. Great Live to Roll content. All right, you guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right, man. Live to Roll.